my cutest little champions. I welcome you all to score 99% in 99 day series. Today it's day 10 and today we are going to finally complete off this chapter, that is life processes. Tomorrow we'll be just talking about the previous year questions that have come from this topic. Yeah. So the final topic that we have is transportation in plants and excretion, and without wasting even a small bit of your time, let's see the chapter flow. Where is it? Yes. Okay. So transportation can be divided into two: transportation in animals and transportation in plants. We are already done with this. So happily presenting you the topic for the day, which is this and this. Today we are going to talk about transportation in plants and also excretion, which is a fun topic. I know it might be difficult, but it's a very scoring topic. There are so many questions being asked around it, so it is an important topic. Now, very important thing that I want to tell you is, if you want me to solve previous year questions tomorrow, then I want you to comment down that you need it, because I do not see any motivation over here. If you are not talking to me, how will I feel motivated to teach? So that is a big trouble. Okay, so just like how you need motivation to study, we also need motivation to teach. And for that, children, you just have to smile, you just have to tell something good, you just have to talk to us. Okay, so please do that in the comment section, which is all open for you guys. Yeah, whether it be bad, whether it be good, but do that. Fine. So transportation in plants, I'll tell you, there are two vascular tissues involved in transporting everything in the case of plants. For example, what all do we need to transport? First thing, water. The plant also needs water, and the plant definitely needs food as well. So for water transport, the tissue which is there behind the transport of water, it is known as xylem. Whereas when you talk about food, okay, the tissue which is there, it is known as phloem. Both of them, I call it vascular tissues. What are those, children? They are vascular tissues. And it is a tissue, that means it is made up of multiple different type of cells also. So these come together and help in the transportation of water and food. So the first thing we are going to talk about is xylem. Okay, how does the xylem take in the water? How does it transport? So where do we get water from? Where do you think water is? Any idea? Any guesses? Where do you think water is? Water is on the leaves. When we water the whole plant, right? So it is taken up to, it's taken in the plant with the help of the leaves. What do you think? Well, if you thought like that, then I have to say that you are wrong, because the water is taken from the soil. Cool? With the help of the roots. So roots have water. But then what about these guys? How do they get water? Ma'am, for that only we water the plants? No, the answer is wrong. Basically, from the plant, inside the plant only, the water has to be going around to different parts. For that, you have the vessel which is known as, or basically you have the tissue which is known as xylem, my dear children. So for water to get inside the xylem, there has to be certain techniques involved, and there are two theories behind it. One is root pressure theory and the other one is transpirational pull theory. I would start with root pressure theory and try to explain you certain things. You try to understand it. Okay. So basically what happens is that, you know, there are so many ions in the soil. There are so many important ions in the soil, and plants usually need it as well. Plants also need iron to grow and things like that. So they definitely need it. So what do they do is, for example, this is a root. I will enlarge a root and show you. For example, this is a root. Imagine that this is a root, and over here I am, basically the plant is taking in the ions. The plant is taking in the ions with the help of active transport. How? Active transport. What do you mean by active transport, ma'am? Whenever you need the help of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, you have to spend energy for something, you call it active. And when you are using this energy for transporting things, you call it active transport. So I'm actively using my energy. I am taking the ions, and basically it is going inside the plant's body. Okay. Why is it doing it? Because it needs iron. And why is there a need for active transport? Because already ions might be there and I am needing more of it. I am kind of greedy. I am the plant and I am kind of greedy. I want more and more ions. Okay, which is why the plant relies on something that is known as active transport, my dearest champions. So what happens is that when ions are more, can I say that the solute is more over here? Remember, in 9th grade you heard something, like you studied something, that is solute and solvent. For example, if this is a jar and in this jar I am putting water, this water becomes the solvent. Whereas if I put salt into it, the salt becomes the solute. So these are the ions which are there put in the solvent. Okay. Now over here, if I say the solute concentration is really much, but if we talk about solvent, in the root, the water is less. The water is kind of less, but who is more? Solute is more, because it has been uptaken by the active transport also. Now, the water which is there, or basically the solvent which is there outside, it sees this. It sees that, oh, I am very much over here. I am present very much in very high quantity outside. Whereas when you talk about inside, my quantity is kind of very less. So that's a problem. So basically, according to osmosis or according to diffusion, things go from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration. So over here, the solvent which is there, okay, in diffusion, osmosis, I hope you know that osmosis is a type of diffusion. Okay, when you talk about liquids, you are talking about osmosis. So diffusion or osmosis, whatever you want to say, with the help of that, the solvent which is in high concentration outside will be moving into a region of lower concentration, that is within the root. Now within the root they have come. Now you have to imagine something. For example, if this is a root, children, if this is one water molecule, this is another water molecule, basically when more and more water molecules are uptaken, it's kind of pushing the other water molecules above. And this is known as root pressure theory. In the roots, you're creating a pressure, and this is known as root pressure theory. And here, in this, you are having a pushing force. For example, I am a water molecule. From down, someone is pushing me and I am going up. You get it? This is known as root pressure theory, and it works only because of ions. Ions gets inside, increases the solute concentration there. To balance it, the solvent outside gets inside. Okay, and now the solvent, basically the water molecule, push each other, and this is known as root pressure theory. But you tell me one very important fact. Do you think that root pressure theory or the root pressure is enough for the transportation of water from here to there? From here to there, do you think it's enough? What do you say about it, my dear children? No, it's not enough. You need one more thing there. And that thing is transpiration. What do you mean by that? Transpiration is loss of water molecules. Okay, transpiration means loss of water molecules in the form of what? In the form of water vapor. So in the form of water vapor, water molecules are lost. How is this possible, ma'am? Basically, you only think, you know, stomata are there on the surface of the leaf, yeah, and also more on the lower side of the leaf, right? Now what happens is that when sun is there, upright over here, it put down the rays, and whatever water is there, which is accumulated over here, it just goes off in the form of water vapor with the help of evaporation happening. Now you only think water molecule which is there. For example, I am there right on the leaf and I am getting evaporated. So what will happen? Another water molecule which is below me will be coming up. But how is that possible? Basically, it happens because of something that is known as cohesive force. So suppose that this is a stem. Yes, you know this is a stem only, but yes, I will make it properly. So this is a stem, and what happens is that the water molecules are kind of arranged like this. This is a water molecule, this is another water molecule. They kind of hold their hands together and they stand. Okay, so basically the bond that is being found between two water molecules, or the force which is being there in between two water molecules, you call it cohesive force. What do you call it, children? You call it cohesive force. So basically, if one guy is pulled up, another guy is automatically going to get pulled up. So if one guy is going in the form of water vapor, another guy will be pulled up. And this is known as transpirational pull. Because of transpiration, a pull is being created, and this is known as transpirational pull, which basically helps in the transport of water upwards. Anyways, water is getting transported upwards. Some amount of water is getting lost also, but water is getting distributed to other areas of the plant as well. You need to understand that. Now, it's not just cohesive force which is there. For example, I am a water molecule. I am holding someone down, and also I am holding myself like this on the walls of the vessels. On the walls of the vessels, that is this, xylem vessels, tracheids, you might have heard of that, right? If you have not heard, I'll tell you. The cells which makes up this is xylem vessels. Okay, you have tracheids. All of these type of cells come together. Now listen, so basically I am holding on like this. So there is a force being over here also, and this force is known as adhesive force. So one force is known as cohesive force, the other one is known as adhesive force. Done? And basically this is how transpirational pull occurs. So in the daytime, transpirational pull alone is enough, kind of enough for taking in the water. But yes, you need this also. You need this because this is forming the initial setup there. So root pressure and transpirational pull both have to be there. Okay, but at night time you can see that this is more active. Okay, and in daytime definitely you will be needing this. Without transpiration you do not expect a very big pull. Okay, root pressure is, the pressure is kind of very small, limited to just a smaller area. So I hope you understood how transportation of water takes place in the case of xylem. This is a very interesting topic as well. Don't you agree? Yes, that is what I have exactly written over here. If you want to go have a read, you can definitely have a read as well. This is for you guys. Now, talking about the next thing, that is translocation in plants, that is done by phloem. What do you mean by translocation, ma'am? Basically, when I am relocating something, that is known as translocation, and over here I am relocating the food. Okay, transportation of food is happening, and who does that, children? It is known as, who does that? He or she is known as, or basically gender, let's be gender neutral. So it's known as phloem. Okay, what is known as? It is known as phloem. So translocation is the process by which assimilates from photosynthesis. What? Basically, in photosynthesis, you know, things are being made and you call them assimilates. Whatever thing is being made. For example, glucose. For example, glucose. Now, this glucose have to be converted to starch, so it could be starch as well. So, anyways, whatever it is, the assimilates from photosynthesis are moved around the plant. Translocation is that process where you are moving around the assimilates, or basically the food product that is made with the help of photosynthesis around the plant. Okay, from where to where, children? From where they are made, which is known as source. For example, if in the leaf they are made, it's known as source. To where they are needed, it is known as sink. So, transport of food happens from where to where, children? Source, the source of it to be made, and the other place which is known as sink, where it has to be transported. Now, this is bidirectional. What do you mean by bidirectional? As in, for example, if this is a plant, suppose this is a plant, the food is made here, it can go down also. The food is made here, it can go up also. This is known as bidirectional movement. Whereas when you talk about xylem always transport water in one direction. This is unidirectional. This is, children, unidirectional. So, water transport is unidirectional, but when you talk about food, obviously, for example, if I make food, if I am having food over here, and I think only this area should be receiving food, is that fine? No, all of my different parts of my body should be receiving it, whatever I do. So, basically, that is what you mean by bidirectional. It can go in all the directions at once. Now, plants convert the sugar made during photosynthesis into sucrose. One very important thing. So, what type of thing is being created in photosynthesis? At the end of photosynthesis, you are making something which is known as glucose. Now, it is said that glucose is not something that is getting transported. Why, children? Because glucose is a reducing sugar. Glucose is a reducing sugar. It's like if it sees someone, it goes and reacts with it and causes a huge trouble, and we do not want that. We want the food to get transported as such. So we want someone who could be a safer option. So what would we do, children? We convert the glucose into something that is more stable, which is known as sucrose. Which is known as what? Sucrose. Will you be able to remember it? So now, what are we going to transport, children? We are going to transport the hamshakal, the duplicate of it, which is what? The sucrose. So sucrose, by combining glucose with another sugar known as fructose. How do you get sucrose, children? When you combine glucose with another sugar which is known as fructose, you get something that is known as sucrose, and sucrose is more stable. So sucrose is transported rather than glucose because sucrose is non-reducing sugar. This sugar that you see over here, that is sucrose, children, he is the guy, or he is the girl, or he is whatever you want to define. He is the one, or he, I should not be saying he, anything, okay. So basically it's the non-reducing sugar. So no he, no she, it comes because I usually tell stories and teach, that's why. So it's a non-reducing sugar that I have over here, okay. Glucose is reducing, sucrose is not. Works. So translocation is a process where I am transporting things from the source to the sink, and this is bidirectional, my dear children. It can go in all the direction and bidirectional as in both direction, not all the direction, and one more thing. In which format it is being transported? Sucrose, because sucrose is what? Non-reducing sugar. How do you get sucrose? When you combine glucose with another sugar that is known as fructose, you get sucrose. Works? Chalo, next thing. So phloem tissue consists of two main type of living cells. I am not saying it is not made up of two living cells. There are other cells also involved, some dead, some living, everything is there. But you need to remember two very important things. One is sieve tube cell and the other one is companion cell. Okay, so you can remember companion cell as a friend. Companion cell is a friend that everyone should be having. Companion cell is a friend, why? Because it has nucleus and all the cellular components. Okay, this is the companion cell and this is what your sieve tube cell. Sieve tube cell does not have anything, no nucleus. It just have little amount of cytoplasm here and there, that's all. Okay, so basically who provides everything to this guy? It is the companion cell that you have over here. Okay, and if you see over here, there is a sieve plate. If this is a cell, a sieve tube cell, basically at the end of them, you have sieve plate which have sieve pores through which the food is getting translocated. Okay, and if you see properly, you will be able to see that this companion cell as well as the sieve tube cell, they are connected with the help of these pores that you see over here, which are known as plasmodesmata. So whatever is being made over here can be transported this side with the help of what? Plasmodesmata. Okay, works? So companion cells are linked to the sieve tube members by pores in their cell walls, okay, which are known as plasmodesmata, and companion cell has so many mitochondria which could later help in active transport by contributing ATP. So here also some active transport is going to take place. We are going to talk about that. Chalo, let's see. Steps involved. So this is the place where your food and everything is being made. Are you? Yes, suppose. Okay, this is a place where everything is being made. So what you are going to do is, you are going to transport the food, that is sucrose. As of now, you have converted glucose to sucrose. Okay, now this sucrose is getting transported from here to here and from here to here. Let's take from here to here, that is from companion cell to this guy. So this is a source that we are having and we have to take it down to the sink. How will we be able to do that? First thing that we need to do is active transport. Okay, we have to actively transport things. For example, suppose the food is over here. Okay, suppose the food is over here. Still, I would want more food to be there because I want to transport it. So there is active transport involved over here, my dear children. From here to here things will come. Sorry, and then from here to here also things will be going. So just suppose that everything is over here, that is in the sieve tube cell. Now what will happen? From the companion cell, things have moved there. Okay, so sucrose made in the source is actively transported into the companion cell. From the companion cell, sucrose moves into the sieve tube cell through diffusion. So from the source to companion cell, from companion cell to what, children? To your sieve tube cell with the help of diffusion. Actually, it's not diffusion, it is active transport itself. Okay, with the help of active transport, that will be much more correct way of saying things. Okay, so we are transporting things, we are using our energy to get things transported over there. Now what will happen? Now you only think that basically if there is too much amount of food over here, okay, there is too much amount of food over here, that means solute is more. If I say there is too much amount of food is here, that means what I am trying to say is solute is more, children. Agreed? Now if solute is more, who has to come there? Solvent has to come there. Okay, so solute is here and I am going to transport solvent. But where is the solvent? In the xylem tube. So xylem is just parallelly running around here and xylem will be giving the water to this guy. So from the xylem, water will be moving to the phloem, to the sieve tube element. Why, children? Because here the solute was very much, and whenever the solute is very much and solvent is very less, solvent will be coming from high concentration to lower concentration. Now you have everything over here. So water from the xylem tissue, high concentration of solvent, moves into the sieve tube element, low concentration of solvent, through osmosis. Through osmosis, things have come. Now what will happen? Now food is there, water is there, everything there over here. Now you only think here there is too much, pressure that is being created. There is an increase in pressure, right? There is increase in turgor pressure. Everything is up here only. There might be areas where there is low pressure, where there is no much food, there is no much water. So now things would be moving from a region of high pressure to a region of lower pressure. And what are these things called? You call it phloem sap. Together you call it what? Phloem sap. So phloem sap will be moving from a region of higher pressure to a region of lower pressure. Okay, so this movement of water would lead to increase in pressure in the sieve tube cell and further would lead to mass movement of phloem sap to the area where the pressure is low. And what do you call this as? You call this mass flow. Okay, mass flow of phloem sap is happening to a region where its pressure is low. It can go down, it can go up, either way, because anyway the transport of food inside the phloem is bidirectional. Okay, now suppose things have come over here. Okay, things finally moved and reached over here, which is our sink. This is where we have to store things. For example, it's a root needs it. What will happen, children? The food which is there, if you see, the food would not have been too much over here. Since it was a low pressure area, initially the food might not be much here, and here there might be too much amount of food. Hence things would be moving from here to here. And even if food is there, if we still want to reserve, we will do active transport to get things there. But anyways, we want the food to be located there. So the sucrose then moves from the sieve tube element to the companion cells and the storage cell where they would be stored. So again, things would be moving down to the sink. Also the water. What happens to the water, my dear children? Basically, the food got transported. The water is still there. The water is still there. What happens to the water? Water will be moving back. But how, ma'am? How can it move back from a region of low concentration to high concentration? As of now, things have changed. The food has went that side. The food anyways went to the sink. Now there is no much food over here. It's just water. Now water is here, and in the xylem tube, what all do you have? You have water and you have ions also. So ions basically increase the concentration there. There is too much amount of ions, suppose. And here is plain water, so water will be moving back to the xylem and everything is all fine. So we say it moves, the phloem basically helps in the movement of food from the source to the sink, my dear children. And over here, you need to understand the things initially from the source gets into the companion cell, from the companion cell with the help of plasmodesmata gets transported into the sieve tube element with the help of active transport itself. Now since food molecule is too much, the solute is too much, solvent from the xylem moves in. When solvent moves in, the pressure is too much, there will be increase and decrease in pressure, there will be difference in the pressure in between the different regions, and hence things would be moving from high pressure region to low pressure region. Now when it reaches the low pressure region, and what do you call this? This is known as mass flow of phloem sap. Okay, translocation basically. And now when it reaches the area where the pressure is low, from here things are being transported to the companion cell and then later to the sink region where it has to be stored. Sometimes it can be active transport also, because you are actively transporting, you want things to get stored there. Okay, now what happens to the water which is still there? Water will be moving back to the xylem. So from here to here, source to sink, we transported things, and this is known as what is getting transported? Sucrose is getting transported. Once it is transported, it can be broken down back into fructose and glucose and can be used in that format itself. Works? And now with this we have completed transportation in plants. Okay. If you have any doubt, feel very free to ask me in the comment section. And one more very important thing is that if you are someone who is very much confused as to what you should be doing after your 10th grade, then children, here's the solution. We have the Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, which you can take, okay, where there will be 60-minute concept based lecture followed by an aptitude test that you would be having, and basically depending on the marks that you're getting, you would be having a one-on-one session with the counselor who would be guiding you as to what stream would be the best for you. Now if you're someone who is interested in that, then there's a link given below in the description box. You can click that. Works? Chalo. Now let's get into the next thing, that is excretion, which is very interesting. So getting into excretion, you should be knowing about certain things. What are those certain things? So first thing, you know that these are your kidneys. Okay, you have two kidneys, and basically the kidney is connected to something that is known as urinary bladder, which stores the urine with the help of one guy which is known as ureter. These are the ureter, and you have two, okay, and then you have your urinary bladder, and this area through which the urine finally passes through is known as urethra. Okay, in the kidneys you will be having outer cortex region and inner medullary region. Okay, and inside that you will be having so many nephrons, my dear children. you would be having so many nephrons, which would be having half of its part in the medulla region. In the medulla region, half of it will be there in the cortex region, that is in the outer region. Okay, so your nephron is basically divided like half like that. So you have so many over here as well, and these nephrons which are there, the nephrons which are there, it becomes the basic filtration unit of the kidney. Basic filtration unit of the kidney. Works? Cool? Now, what is that something that I want to tell you? You would be having renal artery and renal vein as well. What do you mean by renal artery? Renal artery is the one that will be carrying blood from the heart to what? To your kidneys. Artery is basically carrying away from the heart, right? So it will be carrying to your kidney. So this is renal artery. And then you will be having renal vein as well. Okay, I'm just making just to my reference. Do not think that this is the actual picture, okay? You would be having renal vein which will be collecting things as well. This is what? Renal vein, which would be taking back what? The deoxygenated blood back to the heart. Deoxygenated blood, as in renal artery brings what? Oxygenated blood. All the oxygen is being utilized by the cells over here, and then deoxygenated blood is given back, which is taken by the renal vein. Works? Cool? Anything else? One more thing. In which form, in human beings, in which form is the things being transported? What is the metabolic waste in our body? Usually it's ammonia. Actually it's ammonia. Okay, in our body, the metabolic waste, when everything breaks down, or when anything breaks down, you get too much amount of nitrogenous product, which is one such nitrogenous product is ammonia. But ammonia is kind of really bad for us. Why, you may ask? Because ammonia disturbs the pH that we have normally. Now, if our pH is disturbed, all the enzymes which works in a normal pH won't be able to work properly. So that's why ammonia is a big problem. Also, ammonia is kind of very toxic. So to make it less toxic, you need lots of water, and we cannot afford to lose lots of water. So if you want to remove it, we need to add too much water and then remove it from our body. So that is not possible. So instead of that, what we do is that we convert this ammonia to something that we can accommodate, which is known as urea. And this conversion takes place in the liver, my dear children. This conversion of ammonia to urea takes place in our liver. Now, urea is something that will need less amount of water for removal. It will need less amount of water for removal. Now, you might be thinking which are those organisms who actually uses ammonia as a mode of excretion. So, for example, you have all the aquatic fishes and stuff like that. Fishes, they live in water, so they are okay with losing enough amount of water also. So, they have ammonia as an excretory product. In our case, we have urea, okay, which comparatively takes lesser amount of water. Now, there is something that is known as uric acid, which is the metabolic waste of birds. You might have seen they do not need water at all. It's least toxic. It is least toxic, but we do not excrete things in the form of uric acid. Even though in our body uric acid is being made, but we do not excrete things in the form of uric acid. We excrete in the form of urea, my dear children. Please remember, it's not ammonia, okay, it's urea. Ammonia is converted to urea in the case of our liver. Now, one more very important thing. Okay, what is the excretory organ, primary excretory organ of our body? It is the kidney. But what about the secondary excretory organ of our body? Secondary excretory organ of our body becomes our skin. Our skin is a secondary excretory organ. Why? Because it is removing excess salt and things like that from our body. So, skin is secondary excretory organ. Apart from that, you have lungs. Lungs gives out carbon dioxide. So, the carbon dioxide is a metabolic waste. We need to remove it. So, that is also a excretory organ. Next thing, liver. Liver helps in the conversion of lot of metabolic things which are toxic for us. So, it is also acting as a secondary excretory organ. Cool. Works. Now, one more very important thing that I want to tell is that, yes, what is the function of kidney apart from this function of doing excretion? What all other functions does the kidney show, children? Kidney is responsible for releasing a hormone which is known as erythropoietin. Please remember, it's a very important point. Erythropoietin. Okay, it's a hormone which is being released, which helps in the formation of something that is known as RBC or red blood cell or erythrocyte. Okay, now if erythropoietin is not there, you won't be finding too much amount of RBC in your body also. So which is why people who are having dialysis machine in there, and okay, who go for dialysis, who do not have an actual kidney over there, they face a lot of problem in this. Okay, because yes, filtration and everything you can do by a machine, but what about these functions which were actually done by the kidney? So this is a problem. Okay, so erythropoietin is made by kidneys, which basically helps in the formation of RBC. Apart from that, vitamin D synthesis. Okay, vitamin D formation has a huge lot of steps, starts from our skin and ends up here. Okay, so for completion of that also you would be needing kidney. Okay, for completion of that also you need kidney. So kidney is a very essential organ, children. Works? So this is the basic idea that you should be having, and I would request you to take a screenshot of this because it's a very important thing. I'll just move away. Okay. So we are ureotelic. We have ureotelic mode of excretion. This is ammonotelic. Okay, when someone excretes in the form of uric acid, we say it uricotelic. So we have ureotelic. Now you have to understand the fact that we are going to talk about the structure of a nephron, and over here things have to be taken. Okay, so over here in the case of renal artery is bringing so many cells which has too much amount of oxygen in them to the kidney, and now we are going to see what happens to that. Okay, so starting with the structure of nephron, this is how a nephron looks, my dear children. So nephron, basically if you see, there is, okay, I'll start with this thing. Erase. This thing that you see over here, which is a cup sort of thing, you call this as Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule, my dear children. Now, Bowman capsule, if you see, inside this there is some noodly spaghetti sort of thing. What is that? Children, basically the artery which was coming, it got broken into different parts. Okay, it got divided into different parts, and then you have one arteriole over here. One branch of it coming over here, other branch of it might be going to the other nephron. So one branch of it comes over here, which I call as efferent arteriole. What do I call? Afferent arteriole. It's a branch of the renal artery which has just come inside. So afferent arteriole is there. This afferent arteriole will be making a sort of capillary. Again, they will break down themselves and they will make sort of a capillary in between this particular Bowman's capsule, and you call this set of capillary as what, children? Glomerulus. Glomerulus. What do you call it? Glomerulus. And this glomerulus is the set of capillaries. Again, they will join together back to form an arteriole. This is known as efferent arteriole. Efferent arteriole. E for exit. So this is basically exiting the Bowman's capsule. This is efferent arteriole and that one is afferent arteriole. What is the whole funda? I'll be telling you. So the blood, just thinking that I am the blood, okay, with the cells, everyone is coming together very fast. So they are running and coming over here, and what happens is that basically these are capillaries, they will be having pores. So with the pressure that they are coming, all the chutku things and all the small things that could pass through will be passing from here to here. So from the blood, things are going to get passed down into the Bowman's capsule. And what would be left behind? The big things. For example, your RBC, for example, your WBC, for example, your platelets, all of them will be left behind and they will be carried forward to the efferent arteriole. But whatever small things were there, okay, whatever small things, for example, glucose, for example, amino acids, okay, you know amino acids come together to form the proteins. So proteins are bigger things, amino acids are smaller things. So amino acids can come out, proteins cannot, okay. So basically glucose, your amino acid, certain ions, they come out, and urea, which we want to. So in the blood, you know, ammonia has been converted to urea, right, in the liver. Now that urea is also coming, that urea also comes down over here to this particular region which is known as Bowman's capsule. We'll see one by one, okay. I'm just trying you to remember things with the help of a purpose, okay. So this is what is happening, and rest of the guys, they move to the efferent arteriole. Please remember one more very important thing. The afferent arteriole, it has kind of nice width, so things can really quickly move fast. Efferent arteriole, it has a thin lumen, it is kind of thin. So things cannot easily pass through. For example, if things does not stay here and just run off there, then that's a problem. We need to transport things, right? So if it is thin over here and it is kind of broad over here, then things work. It is narrow over here and it is kind of broad over here. So things that are coming would have to stay for some time, then only it can go a little bit easily over there. Okay, so why is that so? Because we want to transport things outside, we are filtering things outside, and this process is known as glomerular filtration, because glomerulus is involved over here and filtration is happening over here. Okay, so things are getting filtered. And what happens to the efferent arteriole? Efferent arteriole later moves and makes capillaries all around the nephron. All around the nephron it will be forming capillaries. What will this capillary do? Basically, what all things have come out into the Bowman's capsule, some of it is actually waste, some of things are actually useful, so it has to be taken back again. Just because they were small they came in, but they were useful, so they have to be taken back again also. So for that, this guy makes a capillary all around it and takes back whatever is needed and say that I do not want this if it is not needed. Okay, now Bowman's capsule will be opening up into this thing that is known as, it's a tubule. Whole thing that you see from here to here, it is tubule. Okay, now this is tubule, tube like thing, but it is kind of near to the Bowman's capsule, so I would call it proximal because it is in proximity. Proximal, and it is kind of twisted, turned, so I call it proximal convoluted tubule. Convoluted as in it is coiled format. Okay, and over here this is one loop that is being formed, which is known as Henle's loop. It is known as Henle's loop. Okay, and over here this is a distance, so I will call it distal convoluted tubule. Distal convoluted tubule. Now this guy opens into this thing that you see over here, which is known as collecting duct. Which is known as collecting duct, my dear children. So you have so many different nephrons coming around here and opening up this thing. The collecting duct will be later opening into something that is known as ureter. Later on, at the end it will open into ureter. From the ureter things will be going to the urinary bladder. So there is a common collecting duct that is there in between. Okay, so that is how things are made. So you know efferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole. Then Bowman's capsule, then you have proximal convoluted tubule, then you have Henle's loop, then you have distal convoluted tubule, then you have your collecting duct which will open later into the ureter. Okay, this is the structure of a nephron. Works. Now over here what happens, let's see. So blood comes from the renal artery and moves through the efferent arteriole. You see the blood is coming. Now what is happening? Because of the pressure, certain components present in the blood moves from glomerulus to the Bowman's capsule. What are those things? Ions, water, urea, glucose, amino acid. 5 things. What are those, children? Ions, water, glucose, amino acid, and our major guy, that is urea. 5 things. Okay, and since they are getting filtered, you call them filtrate. What do you call it? Filtrate. Okay, spelling of filtrate is, if you are not able to see, filtrate. Okay, note only small components could pass through. Okay, and what do you call this process as, children? You call this as glomerular filtration, or you call it as ultrafiltration. This is the first step of urine formation. If you are asked the first step of urine formation, this is the first step of urine formation, and this is how you have to write the answer in points. Okay, next thing. So blood will continue to move from the efferent arteriole, will move around. So you know efferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole, and then capillaries it will form. I told you, right? And all the ions which have come down is over here. Now the next thing that happens is selective reabsorption. So I told you all of these guys, that ions, water, glucose, everything came out because they were small. But these guys are needed by our body, so they have to be taken back again. So the blood capillaries which are surrounding will be taking back all these important nutrients. How, ma'am? Because the blood is now deficient in it. Here you have this in more amount. So things could be moving from here back to this place. So most of the components in the filtrate are selectively reabsorbed by the capillaries according to the usage of the body. For example, in my body, I feel suddenly the glucose is less. At this point of time, I want my kidneys to reabsorb glucose. Otherwise, I will go down. Okay, so basically, this glucose is taken. So according to the need of my body, things are being reabsorbed. But this is selectively done. This is not done universally, it is selectively done. I want this, let me take it. So selective reabsorption happens, and this occurs mainly in this particular region, which you call as PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, so what all are taken back? Ions, water, glucose, amino acid. What about urea? According to your NCERT textbook, it is written urea is not taken back, but let me tell you, little amount of urea is also taken back because of the concentration gradient that is being pertained over there. But still it's just little amount of urea, rest is still there over here itself. So you see the red thingy, it is the urea that you are having over here. Okay, still some amount of ions will be left back. Don't think that everything moves away. No, whatever is important that is being taken, that is known as selective reabsorption, and this occurs in the PCT or proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, next thing. So now blood flows through the capillaries that wraps around the nephron, and while all this happens, there are so many other things happening. So there are so many other things also happening over here. Yeah, blood is taking things in, giving back things, a lot of things are happening. What is that something that is happening over here? Let's see. Tubular secretion, which is the third step. So from the blood, I told you the blood capillaries, this thing that you see over here are blood capillaries, and they are moving around on the whole nephron, right? So what happens is that the blood thinks that, okay, I have taken this back, but I don't need it now. So can I give it? There is an option for that. The blood, this time the blood is giving back the tubule, whatever is not needed. Okay, so from the blood, certain components which are in high amount in the body or is of no use move back to the nephron. Mainly, where is it happening? DCT. This time it is happening over here in the distal convoluted tubule. This is known as tubular secretion. Okay, initially, first thing glomerular filtration. Second thing, you had a selective reabsorption. Now it is tubular secretion. Even though tubules are not secreting, the name is kind of confusing. Just remember that blood is giving things back to the tubules, to the nephrons, that is DCT mainly. Okay, this is known as tubular secretion. So what and all moves back from the blood to the nephron? Certain ions which could be increasing the pH of the blood. For example, I took some medicine, drugs. Okay, some drug. I'm talking about medicine, not weed. Okay, so over here when I took it, there are so many things that is being found. Unwanted things are also there, wanted things are also there. It is disturbing my pH, so I want to give back to the kidney so that it's being used, removed around, which is why we say too much amount of medicine intake can damage our kidney. Why? Because it is making this do a lot of work. So whatever is not needed is given back again so that it could be removed. Okay, and this is known as tubular secretion, my dear children. So first you saw that the nephron was giving things. Okay, basically the blood was giving things, that is glomerulus was giving things. Then you saw that the blood was taking things back, that is selective reabsorption. Now you again saw that blood is giving back. This is known as tubular secretion. Works. Now here, if you have thought about, there is a role for loop of Henle also, that is Henle's loop. So this loop that you see is known as descending loop, and this loop that you see is known as ascending loop. So I'll tell you a fun fact. Descending loop is permeable to water. So water can move in, water can move out, anything can happen. It is permeable to water. Whereas when you talk about, but it is not permeable to solute. That means solutes which are there, certain ions which are there, glucose which is there, it won't be able to move out or move in. Okay, but when you talk about ascending loop of Henle, it is the opposite. It is not permeable to water, but it is permeable to solutes. It is permeable to solute, that is solute can move in and move out. Okay, but water cannot. So what exactly is the need of it, I will tell you. First thing, so ions which are there in the ascending loop will be moving out by active transport. Actively, energy is being given for actively transporting these ions outside. Okay, hence can I say that in this particular region, for example, if this is the kidney, this is the kidney, children. Over here, half of the nephron is over here, and then the loop is over here. You get it? The loop of Henle is over here. So it is happening in the medullary region. In the medulla, all this thing is happening. So in the medulla, now what do we have, children? You have too much amount of solute concentration. But why are we actively transporting ions, ma'am? Why? What is the need for it? The thing is, when ions are more, what will come out? What will come out if ions are more? Water will come out. Water moves from a region of high concentration to lower concentration, right? So now, since solute is too much in the medulla, water will be moving out. Hence, the use of doing this is what? You are taking in more amount of water, and now you just have concentrated solute over here, such that you are not losing too much water in the form of urine. You took in the water. You took the water in the medullary region, by a trick. And now you do not have water much over here. So basically this concentrated urine will be going out. So this was my trick to take in water back. Okay, so to concentrate the urine, I did this, or basically not I, the nephron did this. Do not want to take the credits. So this is how things work over here. I hope you got it, and I hope you never forget it. I know for the first timers it might be very difficult for you to just remember it, so I would request you to go through once more, put it into speed and listen to it. It will be really nice. Okay, now over here I want you to remember one more thing, glomerular filtration rate. Okay, GFR. All nephrons together, you say 180 liters of filtrate is being made. 180 liters of filtrate, as in, you imagine it's way too much. But out of this, we actually urinate just 1 to 2 liters daily. So out of 180 liters, if we are urinating 1 to 2 liters only, that means rest of the amount is reabsorbed, my dear children. Okay, please understand. So our kidney is doing a huge lot of work, which means 98 to 99% of the water is reabsorbed by the kidney. So kidney is very important for us. So drink water, reabsorb it, let the water get reabsorbed. Make your kidney do some work, okay, because it is very much important for it to work efficiently. But do not overburden it as well. Okay, so I hope you got it. Please remember 180 liters. In that only we urinate 1 to 2 liters, and 98 to 99% of the things are being reabsorbed. That is the function of a normal kidney. Now for a person who does not have a normal kidney because of so and so reason, whatever it may be, genetic, some other disease, something else that has been caused, they prefer something that is known as hemodialysis. Okay, they prefer something that is known as hemodialysis, which is also known as artificial kidney, my dear children. Okay, so kidneys, what are those? Kidney, you know, they are vital organs for survival. Several factors like infection, injury or restricted blood flow to the kidney reduce the activities of the kidney. This leads to accumulation of poisonous waste. Obviously, if kidneys are not working, then the urea gets accumulated in our body and it can even lead to death. So, an artificial kidney can be used. An artificial kidney is a device to remember nitrogenous waste products from the blood through dialysis. So, what is being used over here? Artificial kidneys contain a number of tubes with a semi-permeable lining suspended in a tank filled with dialyzing fluid. So, just listen to me carefully. So, over here, there is a machine like this where I have so many tubes. Where I have so many tubes, my dear children. Okay, now there is a fluid around here which is known as dialyzing fluid. So what happens is that if I am the patient, okay, if I am the patient, there will be a connection over here done to my arteries. Okay, there will be a thing connected to my arteries. Why arteries? Because arteries are under pressure, so blood will be coming under pressure. So I can take from that. If I put it in a vein, what will happen? Blood won't be coming very easily. So I am wanting to filter my blood. For that, I have to connect with an artery. So I would be connecting this particular tube with an artery over here, and this artery will be coming over here. Not the artery, basically the tube which is there will be opening over here. Now, the dialyzing fluid which is being made over here, it is made after seeing what all are the things that is very much in the case of the human's body. For example, me, I have some problem with my kidney. So basically, I will make sure the dialyzing fluid has very less amount of urea. But in my blood, obviously the amount of urea will be way too much because my kidneys are not working fine. So over here, the urea is way too much. But outside, in the dialyzing fluid, the amount of urea is kind of less. I am making sure that the amount of urea is less. Second thing, the ions which I want to stay in the blood, I would make sure that these ions are way too much over here, so that the ions does not come out. I'll tell you the funda. So basically, you know, urea is more in the blood, so that when it passes through these tubes, which is made up of semi-permeable membrane. It is semi-permeable lining, okay. What is it? Semi-permeable lining. So things can easily move from here to outside. From higher concentration, urea will be moving towards lower concentration, that is within the dialyzing fluid. And then And then what happens within the dialysing fluid? Basically, this dialysing fluid is replaced every now and then. So we are removing excess amount of urea every now and then. And also in this process, sometimes the ions also comes out. So we have to make sure the important ions which is there, it is already there in the dialysing fluid, such that if it is in higher concentration over here, obviously things won't be coming out. Things could be getting inside. That is possible. But usually that does not happen. It's a one-way flow, and urea is the thing that comes out. Okay, and you keep on changing the dialysing fluid every now and then, because if the urea is way too much here, there is a chance for it to go back again. So it's a semi-permeable membrane that is being used, okay, and this tubes are being used, and it is connected to the artery. Now the blood which is filtered is sent back, and now this time it is attached to a vein. Why it is attached to a vein? Because if I try to punch into the artery, obviously, and if I am wanting the artery to take the blood towards the heart, it's not possible. It carries the blood away from the heart. So who is the one that takes the blood back to the body? It is basically the vein. So I'll be transporting it with the help of a vein. Done. And one more very important thing was that I'll be putting some injections over here, for example heparin and things like that, which would not allow the blood to clot when it passes through. We do not want the blood to clot when it passes through, which is why we put anti-clotting things, that is heparin and stuff like that. Okay. Now we will read it. So artificial kidney contain a number of tubes with a semi-permeable lining suspended in a tank filled with dialysing fluid. This fluid has the same osmotic pressure as the blood. So just as the blood, it will have the same osmotic. That means all the contents would be same. Except that it is devoid of nitrogenous waste. So it won't be having nitrogenous waste, that is urea. Why, children? So that's why it will be moving out, right? The patient's blood is passed through these tubes. During this passage, the waste products from the blood passes into the dialysing fluid by diffusion. The purified blood is pumped back into the patient. This is similar to the function of the kidney, but it is different since there is no reabsorption occurring. Is there any reabsorption occurring, children? No. Any other important things which are going? There is no selective reabsorption, which is why we say they become tired. Okay, because selectively important things are not getting taken back. There is no reabsorption occurring. Please remember that. No reabsorption is there. Okay. Now, normally in a healthy adult, the initial filtrate in the kidney is about 180 liters daily. However, the volume actually excreted is only a liter or a 2 a day, because the remaining filtrate is reabsorbed in the kidney tubules. Works? I hope now this is clear. Please remember the working principle of hemodialysis machine. Very, 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 very important for you to know. And always remember, dialysing fluid, you have to change it. Okay. Now, getting ahead with the next topic that we have is excretion in plants. That is the last topic for the day. And you tell me, how does excretion in plants occur? Do they have kidney, my dear children? No. Do they have skin? No. So basically, they excrete with the help of different mechanism. One such mechanism is the older leaves. So the older leaves which are there, okay, which fall off later on, is a storehouse of all the metabolic waste. So everything that is not useful gets stored in the leaf, and when they fall off, along with that, all the metabolic waste also leave the body of the plant. But again, that's not all. That's my hair doing wonders. So again, that's not all. Apart from that, the plant also releases certain things like gums and raisins. This also contain the metabolic waste, and we use it for our own purposes for different things. We also make rubber sheet out of it. Lots and lots of products we have from it. Okay, so that is one way of excretion. That is second way of excretion. Another third way is basically, they take in carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. Well, here oxygen in them, whenever it is not needed in much amount, it is also kind of excreting the oxygen. At times it takes in because it needs it for respiration. So there are different ways. For example, there is excess water. How do you lose excess water in the case of plant? Transpiration. So plants generally need water, that is there. But sometimes when there is excess water, it can give out with the help of transpiration. So I told you about 4 different ways. There could be other ways also, but according to what is given in your NCERT, these are the ways. And now let's have a quick read and then it's finished. So plants use completely different strategies, as you know. So oxygen itself can be thought of as a waste product. I told you, generated during photosynthesis. We have discussed earlier how plants deal with oxygen as well as CO2. So it is with the help of stomata. So basically, stomata is a way for exchange of gases, and when these gases are not needed, then also things can be removed out with the help of stomata, whatever gas it may be. Now they can get rid of excess water by transpiration. So transpiration is another way of removing what, children? Of removing water. Okay, that is the next way that we are having. For other ways, plant use the fact that many of their tissues consist of dead cells and that they can even lose some parts such as leaves. So leaves basically can be a mode of excretion because they can just lose their leaf, okay, which has high amount of metabolic waste. So many plant waste products are stored in cellular vacuoles also. Okay, now there is something else, that is there are vacuoles in them and the plant can store things in them, and later on when this part of the leaf gets off, basically you're losing the waste as well. Now waste products may be stored in the leaves that fall off, I already told you. Other waste products are stored as raisins and gums, especially in the old xylem. So again, what do we have, children? We have raisin and we have gum. Where is it, children? In the older xylem it is stored and later on being released. Now plants also excrete some waste product into the soil around them. So next method is basically releasing things into the soil. So you have these many ways for the plants to excrete what is not useful for them. Now this is not as complicated as human beings. Obviously they are not complicated as us, okay? But yes, they do have different mechanisms. They have known to try for that. You just imagine an organism which cannot move around but is able to do almost all the things. It's kind of cool, right? In their own ways, not exactly like us, but that's kind of cool. So yes, that's about the excretion in plants, my dear children. And with this, we have completed the whole chapter, that is life processes. And I just have one more thing, little homework question for you guys. You try to solve it. So in our body, which organ is responsible for conversion of ammonia to urea? Kidney, lungs, heart, liver. What is that? And I saw a comment giving the answer to my question, that is homework question. I was kind of really happy. Even a single comment of you being a viewer commenting something like that or trying out the question that I gave you means a lot to me. So please not forget to do that. Please definitely let us know your answers. It means that you are engaging, you are listening to the whole video. That means a lot. Yeah. Now, you tell me the answer for that in the comment section. And if you are someone who is very much confused about what you should be doing after your 10th grade, then we are with you, my dear children. We have Diksha's Scholastic Aptitude Test, where there's a 60 minutes lecture followed by an aptitude test based on that lecture that we just had. Yeah, and then there will be a one-on-one counseling where the counselor would be suggesting the best stream that could be best for you. Yes, so if you are interested in that, you can find the link in the description box, click on that and fill the form. Works. And also, if you want the PDF of the notes that I have just taught, okay, you can join our WhatsApp channel. The link will be given in the description box again. Yeah, works. So that's all, my champions, and I hope that this particular video helped you explain a lot of things, understand a lot of things. And if you did so, if you understood things, if you like the concept, if you like the way of me teaching you guys, then definitely do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also like this little video and put down your valuable comments. Means a lot to me. And stay blessed and all the very best. Bye-bye. Take care.